Yo, what's up YouTube? Today we're going to be going over more sets from the pChal and Pointcrow Nuzlocke Invitational, where we have losers round 1 between Chris Melberger and ConnorEatsPants. For those of you who don't know who I am James, and I might not be the best Nuzlocker in the world, and I am not the best VGC player in the world. I haven't won a world championship yet, but I have several years of competitive Pokemon experience under my belt, with over 10 years of competing, as well as 10 consecutive invites to the Pokemon VGC World Championship, as well as several titles. I also do coach VGC, and I've coached from beginners to even the level of World Champions. So that is something that I have a lot of time and experience with, to say the least. And here we are going to be analyzing the match for this tournament. So I do want to make a quick note that the idea of this video, the main point, is that this isn't supposed to be some elitist, snobbish kind of viewpoint where we're attacking the players for not knowing too much. These players have been playing Pokemon for very little. Like, they probably have only have like less than a month of competitive Pokemon experience in general. Like, they only had a week to prepare for this tournament, and then maybe like a few weeks of just playing the game throughout with the mechanics. So yeah, I wouldn't say like, yeah, I'm going to be expecting like the highest level of quality gameplay, right? But the idea of this is to give feedback and go over some of the plays, and to, you know, point out some of the mistakes, but also explain why they're mistakes and give some other alternatives of what plays could have been made here in the best case scenario. So I do want to make that point out there, that this is not supposed to attack the players. It is just supposed to be like more of constructive criticism that they can use to improve. And if any of the creators somehow do watch these videos somehow, or any big creators in general who are interested in learning about competitive Pokemon VGC, feel free to hit me up, because I will literally do free tutoring. I have done it before for some creators. And yeah, like, all I ask is, if you do enjoy competitive Pokemon and you find it like it's something that you really think is cool, just share it with your audience. That's all I ask for, because I think more people that discover this game, the better, because I think it is just a really awesome gaming experience, from the imperfect knowledge to the chess and the poker-like elements that you have for this game. It's just something that can't be replicated. It's something I absolutely enjoy, and that's why I've been doing videos on this channel for several years now, and why I still compete to competitive on VGC towards this day. So yeah, if you do, feel free to hit me up, but otherwise, let's get started and start analyzing the teams. We have ConnorEatsPants, coached by Stefan Sunny, with Kingdra, Slacking, Dragapult, Metagross, Milotic, and the Breloom. And yeah, so Slacking and Dragapult are probably the top 2 Pokemon of the entire tournament in terms of like base stats and how absurd they are. They are also like the most common Pokemon actually in this tournament. And one thing to note about Connor's team, Tailwind is really nice, because of course dynamic speed, being able to double the speed of yourself and the ally Pokemon on your side for 4 turns is absolutely crazy. And it can really help out with his wall breakers, because he does have 2 choice band mons that do a really solid amount of damage, especially the Slacking that doesn't have to have Truant, because it's a randomizer. It has Volt Absorb, which might come into play. There aren't that many electric type moves, but however, the Slacking that just is able to move every single turn is a massive threat. The Metagross, really good offensive typing as well, decently slow, but that Tailwind just makes these Pokemon absolutely menacing. And the Dragapult on Connor's team is actually the fastest Dragapult in the entire tournament. I believe there are a few Dragapults, but the Dragapult on Connor's is going to be the fastest, and I believe it's the 3rd fastest Pokemon in the entire tournament. And it also is only have to worry about one matchup, because that team will have 2 Pokemon faster than Dragapult, but otherwise Connor's Dragapult is just able to outspeed most teams and just get the Tailwind up to support the rest of the team. Then you have stuff like the Breloom, which does have a pretty interesting move sets with Petal Storm, or I guess it's Petal Blizzard. Actually, the move name is Petal Blizzard. I didn't notice it was Petal Storm, but yeah, it's actually Petal Blizzard. And it's funny because Breloom's not really a fast Pokemon. Even with the Choice Scarf, it's still underspeeding a lot of Pokemon in this tournament. And Petal Blizzard is an interesting grass move, which is actually a spread move. They actually didn't know that it was a spread move before the tournament happened when they were building. They also got unlucky with like the grass coverage on Breloom, because it was like the only good grass move that the Breloom got apparently. And yeah, Petal Blizzard actually hits both sides of your opponent, but also your ally. And this team doesn't have Protect. So it is a move that can be very awkward to say the least. This Breloom does have some interesting moves that it can go for. Thunder Kick, short of Thunderous Kick, which is Galarian Zapdos' signature move, is a really strong flying type move, but also lowers the defense on the opponent's side. And because you have the Scarf on the Breloom, you can follow up Thunderous Kick with like a defense drop into a really strong Slacking or Metagross combination for a really powerful attack. So the Breloom could be really interesting here. It's also the only Breloom of the tournament. You have the water type into Milotic with the redirection with Rage Powder, which is super strong on a bulky mon like Milotic, with Roost and the Grassy Surge, which summons grassy terrain, powering up the grass type moves on the Breloom, but also giving a bit of extra recovery to each of the Pokemon on the ground. It actually could be really annoying to get rid of this Milotic. And then having the Kingdra, I think, as the extra mon here does have some general good coverage, but Connor's team does have some threats. Tailwind with Choice Mons can be really powerful, especially because of the fact that this tournament, again, a lot of the moves were randomized as well as the TMs. So you actually, it was very unlikely for you to get Protect. There are very few protected Tech Mons in the teams in general. So that means it's really hard to stall out like Tailwind, and that could just allow Connor to overwhelm teams if he does have that option. All right, let's go over Chris's team. And if you don't know, each of the compares were assigned a Nuzlocke coach, and in this case Chris was coached by Moxie. And for those of you who do know things about VGC, no, we're not talking about Moxie boosted, it's just MOXI. And I'm a big fan of Moxie, man. He has one of my favorite Nuzlocke videos ever, his Run and Bun video, which actually just recently hit 1 million views, so I highly recommend checking it out because I think it's a fantastic video. But this is Chris's team, and it is probably one of the most offensive teams in the entire tournament. So we have a hyper offensive rain size spam team where you have this Damp Rock Drizzle for Alligator that's able to set up the rain, do some pretty strong damage. And then you have some fast mode with the Inteleon with water moves that can take advantage of the drizzle, but also that speed swap tech with Focus Sash, Psychic Surge that's able to summon the Psychic Terrain. Yes, if you don't know that these abilities were randomized because it was a randomizer that they played as their Nuzlocke, the stats of the Pokemon and the typings didn't change, but the movesets and TMs were randomized. So that is that. We have a pretty strong Inteleon, and for Alligator mode with the Size Spam and the Drizzle, setting up the Psychic Terrain, stopping priority, summoning the rain, powering up the water type moves. You have Speed Swap, which is just really cool because Inteleon is one of the fastest Pokemon in this entire tournament. And what you can do is Speed Swap and swap the speed with your ally. And that's pretty big because it allows this Choice Band Mamoswine to go absolutely crazy. Like, it has Glacial Lens and high horsepower. Its coverage is really strong for this tournament, and it can just wreck teams if positioned well. And that Speed Swap definitely helps this Mamoswine to just break through some faster mons and really just put on the pressure. Then we have this Mew, which is pretty bulky and has the Psy Strike, which is boosted by that Psychic Terrain from the Inteleon, and can be a wild card because that Nuzzle, having that guaranteed chance to paralyze an opponent, can definitely be a big factor here. And then you have things like this Dragapult, which is able to hit pretty hard with that Poltergeist and Dynamax Cannon off that Life Orb. You have Stomp with the Serene Grace for like a 60% chance, I believe, to flinch, which is something. And then the Slowbro, which is actually really good because it can take advantage of both the Rain and the Psychic Terrain to power up its moves, and has Follow Me. And a bulky Pokemon like Slowbro with Follow Me is fantastic. So that is Chris's offensive Rain team. My notes here say, all right, it might be tough for Chris since Connor does have the fastest Dragapult with Tailwind, so Connor can usually always dominate with speed advantage. Metagross, Breloom, and Slacking look very hard to handle, especially under the Tailwind, as they can get knockouts easily. There is a saving grace for Chris though, and he does have Nuzzle Mew, which could be clutch in this matchup. Chris's win con likely need to lead with Mew and get some Nuzzle pairs to stall out the Tailwind. If successful, he could maybe speed swap with Inteleon afterward onto the Mamoswine and deny another Tailwind to go up to preserve the speed advantage. So that is Chris's win con. Connor's win con is get Tailwind up and try to brute force the matchup by just getting knockouts as quickly as possible before the Tailwind expires. Needs to make sure that the Mew doesn't get out of hand and just make sure it's checked, because Nuzzle paralysis can make this very complicated, especially with full para chances, and it allows Chris's Pokemon to outspeed even with Tailwind up. So that's going to be a matchup. It's looking a little bit rough for Chris, but let's see if he can pull through, because he played pretty decently against Alana. So let's see. We're gonna see Metagross plus the Milotic lead, so not even Tailwind on this side, but I like it because the Mew was ended up being led here. So you could put on a lot of pressure against the Mew immediately with that Sunsteel Strike that the Metagross has access to. And the Milotic can just redirect the Nuzzles, which would be really nice. So yeah, it has some options. You could go for Fusion Bolt. The grassy terrain from the Milotic set up a powerful Seed Bomb option with the Choice Band Metagross. That'll actually do some decent damage and covers every switch, because other than I guess Dragapult, but it does cover like the Slowbro's Brob, but we'll see. You could go for Psychic Fangs, but I probably would just click Sunsteel Strike or Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb's fine. Target's Inteleon, but if you do get rid of Speed Swap, the Mamoswine's a lot less threatening too, so that's a reasonable play too. But we Rage Powder or Grass Splash. If he wants to risk the Paras, that's technically reasonable, but we're gonna see a Rage Powder coming from Milotic. I like this a lot. Inteleon can't touch the Milotic for much damage. Goes for the Steam Eruption and ooh, gets the burn. So is there a paralysis coming out? And the Nuzzle. So what's nice about the burn is the paralysis gone, and also we didn't see this based on the lead because of how the game opened up, but the Inteleon had Psychic Surge and then the Milotic Grassy Surge activated afterwards. So if there's two Pokemon with terrain, the fastest Pokemon will get the terrain up first, and the slower Pokemon will get the terrain up, and that's the one that will stick on the field. So that's actually an important note, because these are two of the 3 terrain teams that are in the tournament. So let's bring the Inteleon to Focus Sash, and I mean, it's not a bad spot because the Milotic's looking pretty good to just redirect the attacks again, and you can Seed Bomb threaten the Inteleon, or you could get a huge hit off into Mew. I kind of like the idea of a huge hit off into Mew, but I don't mind getting rid of Speed Swap option either. I would probably just want the Milotic to go down and maybe get my free switch in like Dragapult, which would be really nice here, but let's see. Goes for the Roost option, so you're risking the Steam Eruption burn, and that is pretty bad for Connor, so that is the punish for not going for the Follow Me, as the Side Strike will come out into the Milotic. So yeah, Follow Me would have been really great or Rage Powder would have been really great for Connor again, but he does get rid of Inteleon, so no option to go for the what's it called, the Speed Swap for Chris's side. However, you can't get nuzzled with the Metagross, I suppose, which is nice, but let's see, because this is kind of a weird situation. Connor might want to get the Tailwind up for Shadow Force, but we'll see. Or might want to just Shadow Force the Mew, because that Mew, you do not want Nuzzles. Nuzzles are pretty bad. It goes Slacking, so Choice Band Double Edge going for Slowbro coming out. Okay, so Chris did bring the Slowbro. It has access to Follow Me. A Follow Me into a Nuzzle would be really strong here, so I think that would be really great for Chris' side, because he can set up pins with Glacial Lance at this point because the Metagross is low. So if it is like the Mamoswine in the back, I really like the spot for Chris. You should be able to go for Follow Me. If you're Connor, you have a few options. Double Edge and Leaf Blade are actually pretty fair here. So let's see. I like the Double Edge because it does threaten the Mew. Follow Me is going to come out from Chris's side, so I do like this a lot from both players. Side Strike going to come out. I do not like the Side Strike into Mew or into Metagross. It is quad resisted into the Metagross because it's a Steel Psychic type. I would have liked a Nuzzle in the Slacking, because having the Slacking paralyzed, even going for Side Strike damage into Slacking was fine, because after the Double Edge recoil, another Side Strike might have been able to KO. Would have been a pretty decent spot. I think it gets awkward from here. Double Edge into the Slowbro. We'll take the knockout. Jeez, that's just Choice Band Slack, I suppose. That's strong. And Seed Bomb. It is burned in grassy terrain. Doesn't really do that much damage. Okay. And with that leftovers, the grassy terrain healing and the leftovers, yeah, like the Metagross is not doing much. And you didn't really have to aim to get rid of the Metagross, because the Metagross is just not doing that much damage with the burn, right? So that's why you usually want to target down the Slacking, unless like Chris made a hard read of like the Metagross switching in, or switching out into like maybe Dragapult to keep up momentum. I just really didn't seem like it was ever the call there. Let's see who's Chris's last. Is it the Mamoswine or the Dragapult? It's Dragapult. Okay. So we saw that there were the Mew was faster than the slacking. So I think here you have to hope that you double up the slacking slot and you just pray that it knocks out. You do have Dynamax Cannon into Side Strike, which is some pretty strong moves. You just gotta hope that you knock out the slacking with a double. If you fail to miss if you fail to get the KO on slacking, it's just good game. But yeah, that is your best out. Is he thinking of switching on to Dragapult? Because switching on to Dragapult is no bueno. Switching on to Dragapult is no bueno. Or the Metagross. Okay, no, the Metagross is fair because resetting the move. I thought it was for the slacking slot. Now, I mean, this is okay. It's not my favorite, but you get to reset the move, so you can maybe go for Side Strike. But what did Chris go for? Dynamax Cannon into the slacking. That's fair. Yep. Side Strike KO at that range? Oh, he went for Fusion Flare. Yeah, that's the thing. You don't really need to KO the Metagross, as I said before. You could just double up the slacking. I think if he went for Side Strike, it KO'd the slacking goes down, and then afterward you can focus down the Dragapult, because yeah, now the game is over because the double edge connected onto the Mew, and Connor has a faster Dragapult in the matchup. So yeah, I mean, Chris had like a decent board state, but like just focus on the Metagross slot for some reason. Like the Metagross just wasn't a threat. If he just focused down the slacking, which was the mon that was getting massive knockouts, maybe he felt like he could clean up the end game if he got rid of the Metagross and the slacking's locked into the double edge, so the double edge wouldn't connect onto the Dragapult. That could have been a factor. The thing is, you also have to assume that Connor brings the Dragapult, and since his Dragapult is faster, the game plan doesn't work. So yeah, just probably maybe some few lapses right here. Again, if he like targeted the slacking either of the turns that he targeted the Metagross, he probably was in a good spot. But you know, sometimes you just tunnel vision into like a line that just doesn't work, and sometimes you just don't know if that line works or not till you realize it later, because you can only figure out as you go along. You know, at this point the game is over because yeah, the slacking retreating, which makes sense. You can go for a different move, and the Metagross again is pretty useless. Shadow Force is always going to win the game here. Imagine a Poltergeist hit through the Shadow Force. If that was an option, like he actually had a chance to win this game, that would be crazy. But Shadow Force is going to come out and knock out the Dragapult on Chris's side, and that is going to be game one for Connor. So it's a close game. Like I don't think it was like most of the general plays were pretty all right. The only thing that Chris messed up was the targeting and like who the threat was, because realistically the threat is always the slacking because it can get knockouts. The burn Metagross just doesn't do much with Seed Bomb, and if it switches out, like that's fine. That's turns you're getting the damage on slacking and potentially KOing it, so it's not a bad decision to just take the knockout. But unfortunately it just did not work out here for Chris, as this slacking just destroyed like Chris's Slowbro and Mew. And yeah, like that was just too many turns to let the slacking get away with getting KOs. So let's see if he can adjust in game two. Connor can probably have a few different lines here. All right, we're gonna see Slowbro Mamoswine lead. Interesting. I mean, I don't mind this spot. High horsepower is about to do a ton of damage. Although you are double grass weak with Seed Bomb, but I don't know if you want to risk the Seed Bomb if you're Connor. But we'll see. I mean, Grass Splish does do a lot of damage too. You could go for Rage Powder Seed Bomb, which is a pretty fair play. Milotic should live 1 high horsepower. I think I'm hovering over Roost is interesting. No, Rage Powder. Yep. Okay, that's a good play from Connor's side. Let's see what Chris's counterplay is. It's probably Follow Me high horsepower. Yeah, they both go for redirection high horse in their attacks, which makes sense. Metagross is faster. That one-shots to Slowbro, so really strong from Connor's side. High horsepower going to come out into Milotic. Ooh, just barely missing the knockout, and then that Citrus Berry going to heal with the grassy terrain, so a little bit rough right there. Does Chris have backup plans? Your backup plan is to go Dragapult here, Dynamax Cannon The Milotic, yep, Dragapult comes out. I assume it's a Teleon back. If it's Mew back, that's also fine. Unfortunately, I think the line is just going to go down to Chris. I think the lead was a bit too strong with failing to knock out the Milotic here. And now there's just going to be... Interesting. I mean, realistically, you just Seed Bomb the... You always just Seed Bomb and probably Rage Powder so the Metagross doesn't get hit by Poltergeist. If you're Chris, you could go for a throw here that he doesn't go for the Rage Powder, but no switching out the Mamoswine is really bad for Chris. Dropkick takes a knockout into Milotic, so Milotic goes down. And then, yeah, Seed Bomb. You did not want Mamoswine going down because Mamoswine was like your biggest offensive threat here. Can he win? I'm pretty sure that Chris cannot win. He just ended up again, the big survival on the Milotic was huge, and the Metagross has just been too threatening. Dragapult coming in for Connor for Tailwind, and Mew coming out. Okay, so it's Mew last. I think he should have probably went Mew the previous turn, but yeah, now it's I don't think Clanging Scales knocks out the Dragapult, at least on the bright side. I think your play here, if you're Chris, Poltergeist, well, even then, I think you would still lose no matter what, because all Connor has to do is just Shadow Force the Dragapult slot, and if you give it a Dragapult, the Slacking wins. Poltergeist does come out. I mean, it was his best play. He does get it into the Metagross, and it does pick up the knockout, but the Mew's not able to do anything this turn, so... the Shadow Force is going to go out into the Dragapult slot, and then the Slacking is going to come in. Like, you don't even have really an out, unfortunately, because the Shadow Force is going to KO the Dragapult, the Nuzzle. You can Nuzzle the Slacking, but the problem is then the Dragapult outspeeds the next turn of Shadow Forces regardless. So it's looking really bad no matter what. Like, there's not really like any option here. Connor looking to decide to opt for Foul Play, which, I mean, Double Edge KOs the Mew guaranteed. Foul Play, I think it would probably hang on, but I mean, at this point, it really shouldn't matter too much, because I think unless Connor gets super unlucky, and even then, I just don't think he has the tools to win. Does go for the Nuzzle win con. Oh yeah, he can't Nuzzle the Slacking, right? I forgot this was the Volt Absorb Slacking. So when I said in game one, yeah, like even though like he could Nuzzle the... I said he could Nuzzle the Slacking, he couldn't Nuzzle the Slacking. Although getting Side Strike damage would have been really nice, as we mentioned before. But yeah, I guess Nuzzle was a misplay on that part. But yeah, now it's just over at this point because... can't really do anything. Yeah, you just couldn't do anything if you're Chris. Like, the lead was just too strong for Connor. Like... was there really anything he can do? Not really. He had no Grass Switch, and he would have probably had to lead the Inteleon again, most likely. Maybe if he was able to switch out the into Inteleon for the Psychic Surge, he would have been able to reduce the damage of like the Seed Bomb KOing everything. But yeah, just didn't have any tools, unfortunately. So that is unfortunate, but that is just how it goes sometimes. Sometimes we get the rough pairing matchups, but I think Connor played pretty well in that game. Like, was just able to really allow his Metagross to really just be able to sweep Chris's entire team, and Chris had a lacking response because he didn't really have the best counterplays to it. Maybe he could have got Dragapult in earlier, like and again, I think switching out to Mew was probably his best option, but I think the Slacking would have still been pretty tough for him to deal with, as well as like the Dragapult on our side. It was just rough. And that was Connor versus Chris. It is just going to be a little bit tough. That Choice Band and Slacking was pretty strong, especially with that Volt Absorb, so you couldn't even go for the Nuzzle into the Slacking to get the paralysis chance. However, overall, there were a few turns, of course, Chris was able to capitalize, for instance, gain that Side Strike damage instead of going for those Nuzzle turns. It could have actually probably have swung the game around, so definitely something to keep in note, especially with a hyper offensive team like Chris's. You really have to get the targets right, and you can't be wasting time. You have to get the knockouts accordingly, otherwise your mons aren't able to take the damage and you really get knocked out. So it could have gone either way, I think, but across the board I think it was excellent, and unfortunately one of the players did have to be eliminated here. It's just how the nature tournaments go. However, if you do want to learn more about competitive Pokemon in general, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more VGC content as always. And you can check out the rest of my reactions to all the tournament matches that I will be showcasing here from this invitational. So let me know which match you would like to see next. So make sure you check out the rest of the reaction videos. Make sure you check out the main content that I have for VGC, and I will catch you all around next time.